part of the comments in that media statement would have had a major bearing on a medical examination, an independent medical examination, or any medical examination at that. Because some of them, as was published by some of the dailies, quoted the executive secretary, and okay, yeah, I'm trying to locate that particular one. Yes, and they were he said that they discussed what they refer to as the initial statements here, and in what was said, he said, that's what the papers are quoting, most of them, because we saw this. Ms. Angwe confirmed that for the last 2 weeks, Clara had been confined to her apartment on medical advice for purposes of medical maintenance and security. He also did say that she admitted having possession and control of keys to her apartment. So if one were to, even to her son, after school and lesson hours, so if one were to rely on this few statements or medical, beg your pardon, media statements, they could come to a conclusion that, okay, if she has access to all of this, so wherein lie the credibility or validity in the statement that had preceded this one, that she was held against her will?
Look, I read the statement. I've spoken with the team that went there. I've spoken with my colleague and executive secretary, and my understanding is that he was relaying what he was told. He wasn't relaying his own views or findings. In any case, the commission, the National Human Rights Commission, is a composite institution. It comprises 3 entities, 3 organs. A secretariat, which comprises the staff who do the day-to-day work run by the executive secretary, who is also a member of number 2, the governing council, which I chair, which exercises policy control, and there is a 3rd organ, which is the Human Rights Fund. Now, decisions on cases are taken by the governing council. They're not taken by staff. So, and as I told you, this is going to come before the council on the 9th and 10th of next month. So the idea somehow, and the only member of the governing council who went to Enugu is the executive secretary, because he is the chief executive officer of the commission. I chair the commission. I haven't been to Enugu. I don't know what's happening in this case. I choose not to know. There are channels for me to know, and when those channels are exercised, I will know. And I speak for my colleagues on council as well. That is the way these things are supposed to work. So we keep an open mind, but we are going to be fairly clinical in the application of the rules and the law. Let the chips fall where they may.
Unless, well, that will give you time for you to still, well, have a meeting with the truth in the midst of all of this. But rights issues now, does anyone have to lose his or her rights in the case or in the event of insanity?
You know, I don't know whether this is a general discussion, attached to any particular case.
No, this is not attached to any case now.
Well, the right to health, if you go back to the Alma Ata Declaration by the World Health Organization, health includes both physical and mental health. And our attitudes to mental health in Africa, generally, are at least 100 years in arrears of where they should be. You know, I listen to people talk of lunacy laws, and I can't contain myself. Because there are no lunatics anymore. You can speak of mental ill health, mental disability, but you cannot speak of lunatics anymore. No. It's just the same way that we speak of physical ill health and we have names for them. The mind is a little more complicated than some other parts of our body, and the central nervous system is you know, has some wiring that you know, even the most sophisticated neurosurgeons have not been able to understand. But we cannot, in the 21st century, be talking about lunacy. This was actually part of the presentation I made when the House of Representatives Committee on Judiciary and Human Rights and Legal Affairs had the hearing on the new Administration of Justice Act, because I thought that in the in 2013, we could not be talking about lunatics in our criminal justice laws. That goes back to the pre-colonial lunacy ordinances and orders in council. In this country, we got our first lunacy pieces of legislation in 1911. And that piece of legislation actually came from when Queen Victoria was still the Queen of England. As you well know, Queen Victoria died in 1902 at the end of the Boer War. And so let's get this conversation into the 21st century. That's really my thing. And if we do that, we can treat people who have mental disabilities or who have mental ill health with greater dignity, with greater regard for their humanity, and with better professionalism. And also, the chemical management of people with mental ill health can be dealt with, because a lot of people get shut up with lithium and things like that, when we could quite easily manage them with adaptations that do not require chemical applications.
We have been told recently, I know you say you're not going to rely on media for any report whatsoever, but we have been told,
maybe completely,
and this is one side of the story, that Mrs. Chime is in her mother's house. For some reason, she was released, or she's been let out of her husband's house, and now she's in her mother's house. I was just wondering what the basis of complaint was, that she was being held against her will, as it were, and now she's in her mother's house. Do you think that there might still be a case in terms of human rights violation if she has now been granted freedom, so to speak?
I don't know. I wish I knew. I could answer your question. I don't know where the complainant is. I don't know where the respondent is. I don't want to know.
But assuming
we will go through our procedures, and we will issue hearing notices if we have to. We'll invite counsel on their behalf if we have to. But I really don't have the luxury of speculating as to their whereabouts, what their motives are, who will win, who will lose.
No, but assuming,
allegations are right or wrong.
Assuming we're to speak hypothetically now, even if we don't know, I mean, if truly she's out, but even if she were out, do you think that there will still be a case here?
I wouldn't know. It depends on what the facts are, and facts mutate. Facts can be ambulatory, facts can migrate, and so I'm retaining a very open mind about this, and we'll see where the facts lead us.
Okay. Any reports on the Apple killing yet?
No. Again, there's a likelihood that we're going to be taking that at the next council meeting, as it may also be likely that we may be taking the killing of Festus Eyayi, by the way. Because again, there are allegations about the circumstances in which he died, and it seems to me appropriate that if those allegations are, that given those facts and the fact scenario, again, there is an interposition of a state actor. That's the facts alleged, that he was on the road, and a state actor was on the road, and the state actor ran him off the road, and he died. Now, those are the allegations. If that is it, it seems to me appropriate that a National Human Rights Commission should be interested in that fact scenario, and we are going to be interested in
what exactly does the, sorry to interrupt you, Chamberlain, I know we're being wound up, but what exactly does the Human Rights Commission, after you've investigated, you've come up with a report, where does it go to?
Well, the Act gives us multiple possibilities. It can go to the President, it can go to a governor, it can go to the National Assembly, it will go to the Nigerian people, obviously. But we also do have possibilities for coercive action. And so we can order remedies in terms of damages. We can recommend prosecutions. We can do it, different forms of indictments. But I do think it is important in our little spheres of activity or responsibility that we do not shirk responsibility just because people who look powerful are involved.
All right, we have to thank you for coming on. Professor Chidi Odinkalo is the chairman, National Human Rights Commission. We certainly will look forward to that big December date where the commission meets. I mean, lots of reports anticipated on that one. So.